Hey, let's do this. I never intended to be a dancer. I discovered that my life is now in dance and is for dance. I have had the greatest gurus, I have had the greatest experiences, and I think that's what has actually put me in this place. Yes, privilege has helped me in the sense that, of course, education always helps, background always helps. I am not competing to make this my bread and butter. That allows me to be a lot more free with my art. I'm sort of a destiny's child when it comes to dance because I never intended to be a dancer. I started learning dance at the age of 3, but I started with folk dance, and by the time I was 8 I got into classical. And when I reached my college years is when I met my first guru, which is Guru Shovana Narayan. And I just went to her because I was getting, I'd had a bit of a hiatus from dance. And when I used to see people perform and I used to go watch shows, I used to feel like, oh, maybe I should just go and do this for a couple of days a week now. And someone recommended, that I go to her. I went to her, and then just, the trajectory sort of started shifting from there. Because although even when I was with her, I was intending to start my law. I was an LSR at the time. Then I was going to study law. I was aspiring to be a lawyer for as long as I can remember because I come from a background of, lawyers. After I went into law school, I started getting professional opportunities in dance, ironically. And I met, by accident again, Muzaffar Ali was in one of the shows that I was doing as a part of Shovana Didi's group. And he noticed me in that show. That led to him giving me the first 2, professional performances for which I got paid. And I think from there, it just went on from one, like word of mouth or whatever, someone would like something, give me an offer. And very soon I was very entrenched in it. By this time I had also just about graduated law school, and I was, getting a job. And I was in some denial because I was dancing a lot more than I was doing my legal stuff. And I just decided that I should, just continue to dance as a hobby and do this as my career. Whereas it had already shifted the focus. And then I think the final break from law came when I decided that I was getting far too much attention from really prominent, really wonderful people who knew their stuff. And I think now I needed to put in that extra bit to create more and create those spaces for myself. This is the point when also Maharaj ji came into my life as my guru. And then that added so much more gravitas and seriousness that I discovered that my life is now in dance and is for dance, So that's how I reached here. He was a very remarkable human being, and there are so many things about him that I have possibly not seen in anyone else that I have ever been with. One thing was that he was someone who came from a time that we read about or we see in fiction almost now. If anyone likes historical fiction, it almost sounds like that, because he came from a time when the Nawabs existed, when the artists were being patronized by that time. He comes from a time where artists were very wealthy. So he was a 7th generation. He lived in poverty. They had lost their wealth by the time, he was a young child. But he did see the last of it, where there was great wealth in the family. And artists were really the uppermost, like how Bollywood stars are today or cricket stars are today in India. They enjoyed that kind of standing, where the kings were at their feet, literally. Then he traversed this time, from that age, going into independence, going into the changes that came, post-independence. And then as someone who pioneered and took this art forward and took it to the world, So it was very interesting how he adapted to and brought in an amalgamation of all of these times into. He never stopped. He kept moving ahead and he kept embracing the changes, and yet he carried his past with him. I think that was a very beautiful thing that I got to see firsthand. So whether it was in the way he spoke, whether it was in the way he taught, I mean, the gentle manners of Lucknow, having been, you only hear about these things, the tehzeeb of Lucknow, but I saw it, in him. He used to say that a guru is not just a distant person, he is a part of you. So he is in the shape of a parent, a child, a sibling, a friend, a confidant. So he had these really wonderful liberal ideas. As a guru, I think he was very, non-patriarchal, I have to say. Like, you wouldn't think that, because again, belonging to a certain generation, I started learning from him when he was in his late 70s. Literally what turned out to be the last, 6 years of his life. I was blessed enough to have been very close to him at that time. I could discuss anything with him. Like, I have had discussions on modern relevant topics about women, the freedom that they had, the freedom that they don't have, things like surrogacy, things like, extramarital affairs, things like all the things that people talk about now, the position of women in society. We had these sort of conversations. I think discipline is very important. I learned it much later. If I could do a do-over, I think I would be a lot more disciplined in my approach to it. I think parents and teachers really help with that. A lot of times as children, we don't understand the value of it. But if the parents and the teachers keep you on course with the discipline and the rigor and the routine, which is important in everything, that's very important. One, you have to start early too, so you have to persevere, you have to have patience, and you have to not want a medal at the end of the day, because in the arts you have to think that till the day you die you're going to be a student. So discipline, to the quest or the thirst for knowledge, that should never end. You should never feel that you've arrived. Third would be intention to serve, and intention to contribute, because arts are literally the most beautiful gift, and especially for Indians in India. I think we have such a great tradition. They're a gift to us, so we have to be custodians. Yes and no. It has helped me, but it has really made life difficult for me as well, because I am an anomaly in the system, and nobody likes difference. Nobody likes difference of any kind. And it is a very small world where everybody is trying to, everyone's thinking that there's one carrot and everybody has to rush it. Actually, there's enough for everyone to do. But everyone likes conformity. Nobody likes difference. So yes, privilege has helped me in the sense that, of course, education always helps. Background always helps. The fact that I have no pressure helps. The fact that I am not competing to make this my bread and butter, that helps. So that allows me to be a lot more free with my art. I have had the greatest gurus, I have had the greatest experiences, I have had the greatest mentors, and I think that's what has actually put me in this place. But yes, now in a position of privilege, my privilege helps me now because I can communicate further in a way that possibly other people cannot. I think the first thing it defines is that I'm a human being, and I'm a human being of maybe greater faculty than a man. because I mean, the fact is that even we are just made for more things biologically. No, I mean more things, right? We are physically made to create. So we are here with greater privilege, I would say. That is a privilege. But then we are also here with greater responsibility. So I think being a woman means that you have to use that power which we have We have to know that power and we have to share it. So if we fall short of any of these three things, we are doing an injustice. So we have to be there for other women. We have to be confident of what we are as women and what we can contribute. And despite the fact that there's a lot of things in a patriarchal system that are always working against you, you have to keep your voice alive. And that we are born with it is without question, those things. So I think these three things together can make us empowered enough to make a real difference in a way that I don't think a man can. Poor things, no offense meant. I got a message from some random person, a DM, Insta DM, saying that, are you free on this date for a show in Chennai? So I said yes. So, and they said, we've sent you an email. So very professionally done, because I sent you an email on the email address. Just check it out and share your number with us. So normally I'm very hesitant because on Insta DMs you don't really share numbers, I checked that email, everything checked out. The name of the company was in it, BTOS Productions. And I got in touch with a friend of mine in Bombay who also runs a talent management company. And I said, have you heard of these people? He said, yes. So I did all my checks. There's these are normal people. I come back to the DM and I share my details. So the first thing I said, it's a wedding. And I said, I don't do weddings, because as a classical dancer, what happens is people want you as props. But we want a seated audience. We want people to respect what we do because it's not just entertainment, And the guy's like, no, it's not like that. Please give us your requirements. So actually it could have just finished at that, right? So, no, tell us your requirements. I said, okay. I said, no alcohol, no open bar. I don't mind people drinking on the side, but no open bar while the performance is on. They said, no, it's a Muslim wedding, so no chance of that. Like, okay. Then I want a seated audience. Yes, done. What is your budget? This is my budget. No nakhra at all. Immediately okay, So who are these people? And I said, if it's a wedding, I'd like to get a group. They wanted just my performance. But I said, if it's a wedding, I'm presuming the scale is big. I said, I'll get a group. Are you okay with that? And they said, yeah, sure. I could ask for anything. It was all yes, yes, yes. These are like some amazing people. And then I sent them a concept. The concept was called Hamesha Ishq. I sent them a 45-minute concept and they approved the concept, and then they got back and said, would you mind signing NDAs, non-disclosure agreements? So then I was like, who is this person? Chennai, non-disclosure agreement, budget is not a problem. They're being so nice about the whole thing. I didn't think Rahman, he's just too young. I did not think that he'd have a child who's getting married. My imagination was not going to Mani Ratnam and him and Kamal Hassan. I was not going there at all. So then I was in Khan Market, and this is at midnight. I get a call. This guy says, my boss wants to speak to you now. I said, okay. Boss was not so. Boss was, he was this really amazing, and Nazif was on the phone. And this guy is telling me, okay, Shivani, show is confirmed. This is the date. This is the thing. And now I'd like to tell you who the show is for. So I said, okay, who is it for? So he's like, it's for Mr. A.R. Rahman. And I was in shock. I'm walking the streets of Khan Market and literally jumping in the middle of the thing. It's what? Are you saying it's Rahman? He's like, yes, it's Rahman. After that, I think it's a bit of a blur what he was saying, but the bigger parts of the conversation were that he's like, but sir does not want you to make this about him. He wants to see your repertoire. He wants to see the Kathak repertoire. You don't have to do his songs. I said, but no, I want to do something. Can I please? So he said, okay, a little bit. So I said, yeah, maybe I can do 2 snippets of something just as a, I don't know what, but I just want to do it. Can I do it? And he said, yeah, of course. There was 45 minutes of Kathak that I created for them. Then I asked him, I said, how did you get, I said, some event management people. Now, I am not prolific on YouTube or even Insta. That time I was very reluctantly posting. The value of Instagram I've only, after him, after meeting him. So I said, how did you guys hear of me? So he said, Shivani, we haven't heard of you. Sir saw your work and he has asked for you specifically. And I said, what do you mean he's asked? And I said, is he going to watch? He says, yes, he's going to watch. That's why he's calling you here. I said, his daughter's wedding, he's going to watch, really? He said, yeah, he's going to watch. That's why he wants this to happen. And he sat front and center and watched. So I was like watching from the wings and taking photos of him sitting there, because I was just so surreal. And my girls were like screaming. Like, just shut up. Like, you have to perform. Like, just like relax. We can do the screaming later. And of course, we did that later. And he met us after that. He met me. He said such lovely things. And then he said that, we must do this again. He spoke about the arts, about how he envisions what the future. And I mean, the man is, again, just genius beyond. Again, not only just genius, but a great person, like a great human being. And that's the learning. I think that's the learning to see when you see people like Maharaj ji and him. You're imagining it, it's in your head. You don't know better than me if I feel differently. I'm a person of thought and education and heart. Maharaj ji, companion, disturbed, the greatest, home, overused, bright.
Delhi boys?
Can we leave it at that? Did I say enough?
Yeah.